welcome. As the screen gently softens and the opening card fades into a deep, comforting darkness, allow yourself to settle completely into the quiet space around you. Close your eyes, release the weight of the day, and let your breathing slow to a long, effortless rhythm. Tonight, we journey across quiet horizons to the historic lowlands of the Netherlands, a serene landscape defined by still waters, open skies, and the timeless presence of giant wooden sails turning against the wind. For centuries, these patient structures have stood watch over grassy polders and mirrored canals, transforming the gentle breezes of the North Sea into a soft, steady pulse that shaped an entire nation. Here, where land and water meet in silent harmony, every turning blade carries a story of quiet ingenuity and peaceful endurance. Long before the familiar wooden windmills dotted the flat pastures, early master builders raised enduring monuments of masonry to harvest the sky. Deep within the eastern woodlands, the passage of time seems to stand entirely still beside one of the country's most venerable landmarks. First recorded in 1451, the Greyflake Torenmolen in Zeddam is the oldest surviving tower mill in the Netherlands. Built with solid brick walls over 3 feet thick that shelter quiet timber floors and twin pairs of heavy sandstone millstones resting within those cool, thick walls. One can almost feel the gentle weight of history held safely within the heavy oak beams. Outside, the breeze whispers through the leaves, while inside, the ancient stonework holds a deep, soothing stillness that has remained unbroken for over 5 centuries. As the centuries unfolded, the Dutch learned to work seamlessly alongside the waters that surrounded them, creating vast networks of polders that stretched toward the horizon under wide, cloud-dappled skies. At Kinderdijk in 1738, 19 thatched polder mills were positioned in 2 quiet rows along the Lek and Noord rivers, using wooden scoop wheels turning at 5 revolutions per minute to lift water step by step into high storage basins. Imagine standing along the grassy bank on a calm, misty evening, watching those giant thatched structures work in silent harmony. Deliberate 5-revolution rhythm of the wooden wheels creates a rhythmic, watery hum, a peaceful cadence that coaxed the land to dry and gave rise to lush, green fields beneath the twilight air. Each scoop of water rises smoothly, transferring the river's flow step by step, while the sails turn overhead in a graceful, unhurried arc. Across these vast, open expanses, the mills did more than simply move water and grind grain. They formed a connected community that communicated across the quiet miles. Dutch millers used an intricate language of sail positions called molentaal, angling the resting blades slightly before top center to silently signal joy or rest to neighboring villages across miles of open polder. In the soft glow of dusk, as the wind begins to ease into a gentle murmur, a miller might carefully adjust the heavy wooden arms into their resting posture, sending an unspoken greeting of peace across the still waters. Neighboring families looking out across the twilight could read the gentle angle of the blades, feeling a quiet sense of connection and calm. Now, as darkness settles over the polders and the sails come to complete rest, let that same deep tranquility fold around you, guiding you gently into a restful and motionless sleep. As the early evening mist settles softly across the low-lying fields, one can imagine the quiet ingenuity that began transforming the Dutch landscape centuries ago. Developed around 1407 near Zoeterwoude, the hollow post windmill transferred wind power down through a central hollow oak cylinder, allowing the upper wooden body to pivot freely while keeping the heavy lower water housing securely anchored. This clever separation of structural weight and dynamic movement allowed early polder dwellers to continuously lift water out of saturated pastures with a serene, reliable rhythm. The gentle creak of pivoting timber became a familiar heartbeat across the damp meadows, steadying the soft ground beneath low gray skies and offering a simple, dependable harmony between human necessity and the wandering air. Each passing breeze brought a quiet promise of dry land, as the wind was coaxed into a slow, downward drive that kept the water moving peacefully away into the surrounding drainage ditches. The landscape slowly settled into a tranquil equilibrium, where land and water found a gentle balance under the watchful eye of the turning sails, allowing families to sleep soundly in their timber homes. Over 2 centuries later, as the ambitions of land reclamation expanded into vast open waters, larger engineering feats began to take shape with quiet grace across the countryside. In 1612, hydraulic engineer Jan Adriaanszoon Leeghwater deployed a synchronized chain of 43 smock mills to drain the Beemster lake, lifting water step by step across 4 ascending stages into a surrounding ring canal. Walking along the high grassy dikes, one could observe these towering wooden structures arranged in neat, orderly rows, their massive canvas sails turning in silent unison to move thousands of gallons of water upward toward the outer embankments. Each mill in the ladder played its calm and essential part, passing the water from one lower basin up to the next with methodical precision. The drained lake bed soon settled into peaceful, fertile polder land, protected by the untiring work of wind and wood, and demonstrating how patience and shared craft could quietly transform a wild expanse of water into rich, tranquil pasture land that stretched as far as the eye could see, resting quietly beneath the twilight sky as Dutch millwrights continued to refine their methods over the decades. Another elegant mechanical advancement brought even greater calm efficiency to the waters of the Low Countries. Beginning in 1634, Dutch millwrights began replacing flat scoop wheels with wooden Archimedes screws wrapped in fitted oak staves, lifting polder water up to 4 meters high in a smooth, continuous spiral. Unlike the older scoop wheels that splashed, and churned the canal water with every rotation. These carefully crafted wooden screws scooped the liquid gently upward in a seamless, unbroken stream. The water glided quietly through the rotating timber grooves, rising steadily toward the elevated drainage channels without noise or turbulence. Watching the great sails turn slowly against the fading evening light, while listening to the soft, continuous murmur of water climbing through the oak spirals, brought a deep sense of calm and order to the countryside, ensuring that the lowlands remained peaceful, dry, and resting softly under the quiet, starry skies, while the gentle rhythm of the mills whispered a peaceful lullaby over the sleeping polders. Across the low-lying landscapes of the north, water and wind have long shared a quiet, enduring conversation, shaped by human patience and simple mechanics. In the quiet marshlands of Friesland, tiny *T-Jasker drainage mills rested on a single wooden pivot post, using a direct drive shaft to turn an inclined screw that gently lifted water over low meadow dikes. These miniature sentinels of the countryside stood low to the earth, almost blending into the swaying reed beds and damp pastures. With no complex gearboxes or heavy foundations, a T-Jasker could be easily rotated by hand, tilting its narrow sails to catch even the lightest breeze drifting off the Zuiderzee. As the Archimedes screw spun beneath its wooden shield, water moved steadily from field ditch to drainage canal, carrying a soft, rhythmic gurgle that hummed across the sleepy landscape. In the stillness of late afternoon, when the fog began to settle over the damp grass, the gentle motion of these small mills provided an almost imperceptible breath of life, keeping the surrounding pastures dry and peaceful without disturbing the tranquil calm of the wetlands. Following the slow ribbons of water south toward the historic heart of Holland, larger wooden structures rose beside the waterways, engineered to harness the constant breeze for heavy craft. Built in 1631 along Amsterdam's Kostverlorenvaart, de Otter is a rare *Paltrijkmolen, whose entire multi-ton wooden frame rests on a ring of iron rollers called a rollinkran's asterisk, allowing a miller to quietly rotate the entire building into the wind. Named after the sleek creature that once frequented these marshy banks, this sawmill stood as a triumph of timber carpentry, cradling its massive wooden frame upon a low brick ring, so the entire building could pivot smoothly toward whichever horizon offered a breeze. The iron rollers inside the rollinkran's bore the immense weight of the timber superstructure with remarkable ease, allowing a single miller pushing against a long tailpole to align the sails with quiet precision inside the dimly lit interior. The comforting smell of damp river mist mingled with fresh sawdust and pine resin, while the huge wooden shafts turned silently in their iron bearings, translating the wild energy of the North Sea wind into a steady, controlled movement that that shaped the timber for an expanding maritime world. Further north, along the quiet curves of the River Zaan, this harmonious partnership between wind and craft blossomed into an extraordinary landscape of industry, powered entirely by natural currents. In the 17th century, the Zaan region became the world's first wind-powered industrial zone, where hundreds of mills like Het Jan's shop used wooden crankshafts to glide saws rhythmically through Baltic oak logs. Here, line after line of wooden sawmills stood shoulder to shoulder along the water's edge, their canvas sails turning together in the steady river breeze like giant, slow-moving clockwork. The heavy wooden crankshafts converted the rotary sweep of the sails into an up and down motion of long iron blades, cutting cleanly through massive timbers with a soothing, hypnotic cadence. As the rich scent of aged oak filled the cool air and sawdust drifted softly like fine sand across the wooden floors, the mills worked in unison, without smoke, soot, or noise, beyond the gentle creak of timber and the soft splash of displaced water. It was a quiet realm powered entirely by the sky, where human craft rested lightly upon the steady breath of nature, inviting a profound sense of peaceful order, timeless rhythm, and deep, restful ease. As the evening air settles over the peaceful waterways of the North Holland countryside, the wind carries with it a softer, more meditative cadence than that of the land-draining wheels. Beyond the vast pastures and quiet polders, specialized industrial windmills once transformed humble raw materials into foundational elements of everyday life, industry, and lasting architecture. In the historic village of West Zaan, the gentle rush of air still drives intricate mechanisms designed centuries ago for fine paper production. Built in 1692 in West Zaan, de Schoolmeester remains the world's last wind-powered paper mill, where wooden beaters rhythmically pummel linen and hemp rags into pulp to form thick sheets of Zaanstreek board paper. Inside its timber-framed structure, the creak of aged oak beams harmonizes with the soothing splash of water and the steady, heartbeat-like thrum of heavy wooden hammers. Worn linen scraps and tough hemp fibers, carefully gathered, sorted, and soaked, yield beneath the repeated, measured weight of the beaters until they dissolve into a smooth, velvety slurry. The papermakers then lift delicate wire screens through the vat, capturing thin, uniform layers of fiber that dry naturally into sturdy, beautifully textured sheets, famed for their strength and archival longevity. Standing beneath the wide, swaying sails, one feels a profound connection to an era when natural forces were harnessed with quiet patience, turning salvaged textiles into durable paper, while the evening breeze rustled gently through the surrounding marshland reeds. This intricate relationship between wind and craftsmanship extended far beyond papermaking, reaching deep into the structural engineering that safeguarded the lowlands from the sea. The same consistent breeze that filled merchant sails across the Zuiderzee turned the massive stone wheels of mills, dedicated to fortifying the built environment itself. During the 17th century, specialized asterisk trasmolins, asterisk ground volcanic tough rock, imported from the Eifel region between massive stones to produce a fine ash, creating the slow-curring hydraulic mortar that bound underwater dikes and canal walls. Transported along winding riverways from distant volcanic quarries, this dense gray stone was crushed beneath the relentless rotation of paired millstones until it became a delicate powder known as asterisk tras asterisk. When carefully combined with slaked lime and water, it formed an extraordinarily resilient mortar capable of setting and hardening, even when fully submerged in damp earth or salt water. It was this remarkable material that enabled Dutch masons to lay solid, impervious masonry foundations beneath harbor canals, shipping locks, and coastal sea defenses, allowing stonework to endure against the ceaseless push of the sea. The steady, grinding motion of the trasmolin's asterisk matched the slow, deliberate pace of the landscape's ongoing transformation, gradually slowing as twilight deepened across the quiet polders. The fine stone dust settled softly like a pale, quiet veil over the polished wooden floors, while outside, the great canvas sails turned lazily against a soft, pastel evening sky. Together, the paper mills and stone grinding factories represented a thoughtful synthesis of human ingenuity and atmospheric power, where the invisible motion of the air left an enduring mark on both written history and stone architecture. Every sheet of paper and every submerged brick wall stood as a quiet testament to the harmony between natural forces and patient craft. As night falls completely, the heavy timber gears gently come to rest, the breeze whispering through the quieted sails, while the mirror-like waters of the canal reflect the calm stillness of a land shaped by hand, water, and wind. As dusk settles over historical Dutch towns, the skyline reveals remarkable monuments to human ingenuity and the gentle power of the wind. In urban settings, where crowded rooftops, chimney tops, and narrow streets obstruct the low-lying currents of air, master builders sought new ways to capture the steady, undisturbed breezes aloft. During the 18th century in Schiedam, brick stage mills like De Dry Kornbloemen were constructed over 10 stories high, so their blades could reach breezes above city rooftops to turn heavy stones grinding malted barley and rye. Rising tall above the surrounding brick homes, these soaring structures served as the vital hearts of local distilling and grain preparation, converting the energy of high-altitude air into steady, rotary motion. High up on their circular wooden galleries, millers could gaze out over the sleeping town, adjusting the canvas sails to catch the subtle shifts in the evening atmosphere. Inside, massive wooden shafts rotated with a deep, rhythmic hum, transferring momentum downward through heavy oak gearwork to the immense millstones below. The continuous sound of malted grains being slowly reduced to fine meal created a soothing, perpetual pulse that echoed softly through the night, reassuring the community of morning's quiet abundance. Moving further eastward across serene landscapes where quiet streams and peaceful meadows meet, specialized mills were designed with delicate precision to process different harvests. The art of milling extended far beyond simple bread flour, adapting to the subtle structural requirements of various grains and crops. At de Pelmolen in Racen, built in 1752, dual sandstone peeling stones spin horizontally within perforated tin casings, rubbing whole barley grains against raised metal rasps to quietly strip away the outer husks into fine bran without crushing the inner grain. This gentle separation demanded a masterful balance of rotational speed and exact clearance between the spinning stones, ensuring that every kernel emerged intact, smooth, and preserved. Inside the timber-framed chamber, the friction produces a soft, rustling whisper, reminiscent of dry autumn leaves swaying in a mild evening breeze. Fine particles of sifted bran gather gracefully beneath the perforated tin screens, while the smooth, pearled grain glides effortlessly into waiting burlap sacks. The gentle, clean aroma of grain and dried chaff fills the cool air, blending with the steady creak of wooden beams as the sails turn lazily under the open sky. Along the peaceful waterways of the Zaanstreek region, the breeze carries another traditional craft that has endured through centuries of quiet dedication. Here, wind-driven machinery was enlisted not only to nourish the population, but also to yield rich raw materials and vivid colors for artists and artisans alike. Inside the 1646 dye mill de Cat at Zaanstreek, twin 5,000-pound granite edge-runner stones still roll in slow, quiet circles to crush natural chalk and earth minerals into fine powder for oil paints. Supported by massive timber uprights, these immense stone wheels travel endless circular paths upon a heavy bed, their sheer weight gradually reducing raw earth minerals into velvety pigments. The deep, resonant murmur of the heavy granite as it glides smoothly over chalk acts as a comforting metronome for the building, peaceful in its unhurried constancy, as fine mineral dust settles lightly across the wooden floorboards. Soft hues of natural earth and chalk catch the fading twilight filtering through high windows. Outside, the wide sails turn in harmony with the gentle night wind, maintaining a timeless rhythm that rests the mind and brings a sense of quiet stillness. As twilight deepens over the quiet waterways of Utrecht, the calm air carries a subtle, enchanting aroma along the canal banks. Rebuilt along Utrecht's canal in 1792, De Stur is a rare surviving spice mill where wind power lifts heavy wooden tilt hammers called stuiters, dropping them in slow rhythms into solid oak mortars to gently crush dried nutmeg, cloves, and tobacco leaves into fragrant powder. The rhythmic thud of timber on timber echoes softly through the twilight, blending with the gentle lap of canal water against stone. Each lifted hammer rises with the whispering breeze and settles back down into the darkened wood, releasing warm currents of spice into the cool evening shadow. Inside, the dust of nutmeg and clove drifts like a fine golden mist in the fading light, settling quietly onto the polished floorboards. The ancient gears turn with a measured, hypnotic grace, moving without hurry, as if the mill itself were settling down to rest after a long afternoon of quiet work. The surrounding trees sway gently, mirroring the steady motion of the wooden arms above, while the scent of warm clove and dried tobacco lingering in the air offers a comforting sense of warmth and historic peace to anyone drifting past along the water. Further across the quiet countryside, nestled along the peaceful waters in Swole, another ancient tradition of wind and craft unfolds with equal tranquility. Inside historic oil mills like De Passabloem in Swole, wind-driven wooden stampers, called asterisk hyen, dropped in slow, steady rhythms to press soaked linseed into fragrant golden oil. The sound of these heavy timber stampers is deep and resonant, like a slow heart beating beneath the floorboards, reassuring in its steady consistency. With each lift and fall of the hyen asterisk, the crushed linseed surrenders its rich, golden liquid, filling the mill room with a nutty, soothing fragrance that clings softly to the old beams. The golden oil flows silently down narrow wooden channels, glistening in the soft amber glow of evening lamps. Outside, the dusk settles gently over the meadows, casting soft shadows across the still water. The wind sweeps across the fields in long, soothing breaths, turning the great sails just enough to keep the wooden machinery swaying in its timeless lullaby. There is a deep comfort in this ancient harmony between wind, wood, and seed, where nature's gentle force is transformed into warmth and light through patient, rhythmic labor. Behind all of these peaceful sounds and fragrant breezes lies the masterly foresight of traditional Dutch engineering, built to withstand the unpredictable moods of nature with quiet elegance. Dutch millwrights carved replaceable gear teeth for the great spur wheel out of dense hornbeam wood, designing them as gentle mechanical fuses that would safely shear away under sudden wind gusts before the main oak driveshaft could fracture. This brilliant design ensured that even when a sudden, powerful breeze swept across the flat landscape, the mill possessed a built-in gentleness, protecting its vital heart through soft, deliberate sacrifice rather than rigid resistance. The dense hornbeam teeth meshed together with a soothing, wooden hum, absorbing the energy of the wind and smoothing out its wilder impulses into a fluid, gentle rotation. As night falls completely, the wind settles into a soft whisper through the trees. The great spur wheel slows its turning. The heavy wooden stampers rest in their mortises, and the fragrant air of spice and linseed floats out into the cool midnight air. All is quiet now across the canals and fields, held safe by centuries of wise craftsmanship and the gentle, enduring rhythm of the wind. As twilight spreads across the broad horizons of the Dutch landscape, the evening breeze softens into a quiet, steady whisper over the rustling reed beds and motionless waters of the canals. In these serene hours of late dusk, the vast wooden structures stand as peaceful sentinels over the open polder, tuned so finely to the movement of the atmosphere that even the faintest breaths of summer air can sweep through their wide canvas and turn their great sails. In 1927, Dutch aeronautical engineer A.J. Dekker fitted smooth metal airfoils along the leading edges of windmill sails, reducing wind resistance so effectively that heavy timber mills could begin rotating gently in light summer breezes of just 4 miles per hour. These refined metal curves, shaped with modern aerodynamic precision, allowed the ancient wooden giants to gather the thinnest currents of air, turning gracefully and almost effortlessly while the surrounding villages slowly drifted toward sleep. The subtle lift generated across the long timber frames creates a soft, hypnotic rhythm, tracing sweeping arcs against the darkening sky, while the last golden embers of sunset fade into deep dusk. When the quiet work of the day draws to its natural conclusion, and the water levels within the polder channels rest at ease, the miller prepares the massive machinery for the tranquil stillness of the night. To bring a spinning mill safely to rest without creating friction sparks, Dutch millers engaged the *vang*, a flexible brake band of soft willow wood that squeezed quietly against the rotating oak drive wheel. The supple willow wood, carefully chosen for its smooth density and gentle grip, absorbed the heavy momentum of the turning sails without heat, noise, or harsh friction, bringing the massive timber gears to a smooth and gradual halt. There is a profound sense of peace in this deliberate deceleration as the ancient wooden beam work settles and the wide arms come to rest in their traditional overnight stance, aligned gracefully to meet whatever quiet breeze the coming morning might bring. The peaceful hush that falls over the brake wheel mirrors the stillness settling across the surrounding lowlands, where grazing livestock rest in the soft shadows, and the calm canal waters mirror the first clear stars of the evening. Deep within the protected heart of the mill, the indoor air remains warm, dry, and deeply reassuring against the quiet dark outside. Traditional polder millers slept in built-in bed closets directly beneath the main oak axle, lulled by the low hum of wooden gear teeth greased with mutton tallow as the mill turned gently through the night. Nestled inside these cozy wooden alcoves built straight into the sturdy structure, the steady, rhythmic cadence of the machinery provided a continuous, gentle lullaby. The subtle, nostalgic scent of rich mutton tallow and aged oak fills the small room, crafting a quiet sanctuary where generations of milling families found deep, undisturbed sleep, while the waters moved safely beyond the dikes. As full darkness enfolds the peaceful countryside of the Netherlands, the gentle harmony of wind, wood, and water carries all remaining thoughts into quiet rest, leaving only the slumbering polders, the silent waterways, and the timeless silhouette of the windmill resting under the starry sky.